The St. Louis Zoo was recently voted the best free attraction in the country in a USA Today poll. And here today with us to discuss more about what's going on at the zoo is education instructor Sarah Ghidina and early childhood instructor Becca Harrison. And I should start things off because we're going to talk about what a lot of people may or may not know is that the zoo officially now has a preschool, has an early childhood program that runs year-round?
Our preschool runs from September until May. And then we have Camp Joey in the summer for our 4- and 5-year-old. And throughout the year, we have different classes for kids starting at, I believe, 4 months.
Mm-hmm. So how did this come about? The obvious is children are at the zoo every single day, and they love it. Everyone in St. Louis loves the zoo. But then how do you go from that to starting an actual preschool?
Our director, Laura Seger, this has been something that she's been really passionate about for at least 3 years. It's the third year of the preschool. So I know we started Camp Joey. I think this was its fifth summer maybe. Mm-hmm. She's always just felt that, we need to make sure that we're educating our youngest conservationists who visit the zoo.
And what can parents expect, like, for the experience from their child from the preschool program?
Well, the zoo is our whole classroom, and Forest Park for the older classes, their classroom as well. So we meet an animal that we get to touch at least once a week. We spend about 50% of our time outside. The 4- and 5-year-old class spends the whole day outside for Forest Fridays, so they visit different locations in Forest Park, and we do whatever they're interested in, we learn about.
So you've brought some things with you. These are actually what you use in the classroom, and I want you to tell me about some of the things that you've brought, because that'll then segue us to talk about a new thing that's going on at the zoo on Saturdays. But first, why don't you tell me a bit about what you've brought here?
So we brought some of our tree cookies. These are some of the things that we're using to practice our letters. Kids can make words, they can do matching. We've got capital and lowercase letters. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of our materials are natural. Mm-hmm. We wanted to make sure that kids were getting exposure to letters, but add our own little nature twist to it.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah, so along with that, we also have our story stones, which is one of my personal favorites. We just made a whole bunch of different stones with lots of different pictures, and then the kids get to make their own story. So they can have, maybe a giraffe was eating some flowers one day, and then they can go from there. So they love it. They love to find the pictures, to think of whatever they mean to them. They're open to interpretation.
It's so neat when you think about it, because as you said, I mean, the children aren't in a traditional classroom setting. They're at the zoo. I mean, they have a homeroom, but they're going out at the zoo. What do you observe on a day-to-day basis in terms of how the kids, when they're able to see the animals at the zoo on a daily basis?
I mean, lots of questions about whatever we're seeing and comments on everything. Poop is always one of the big interests for kids. Preschool age is perfect.
But you can learn a lot that way,
we do.
Right?
The first year of preschool, that was what they were really interested in, is they thought they were going to be into the hippos, and they found out it wasn't the hippos the kids loved, it was their poop. And so they did a whole unit on poop. This year, we actually just met the gardener today, and we got to go garden in the zoo. We got to help pull weeds and take care of the children's zoo, and they loved it. And then we found out about vegetables that he's growing there too. Yeah, no, it's such a neat idea, and I mean, really, I know that the kids have. I know my son has done camp at the zoo and just just loves it, loves every day. There's something really important that you've now started on Saturdays, Sensory Saturdays. Sarah, tell me a bit more about that.
So Sensory Saturdays, we just started, we had our first Saturday this past Saturday, and Becca is actually the person who kind of started this whole idea that it was something that was really missing from the zoo. And a lot of unfortunately, education centers around the area don't seem to have as much sensory-friendly situations as we would like to have seen, so Becca saw a need for it. Yeah.
So what happens on Sensory Saturdays?
We have a traditional gallery session. We are open to the public in our Discovery Gallery, which is where preschool is based out of, Camp Joey's based out of. We are open to the public for 45-minute sessions, and we decided that we needed to have one that was just a little bit more sensitive to different kids' needs. So we turn down the lights, turn off the music. We have staff who are experienced working in kids with special needs. We just create a safe space for those kids and their families to feel successful in their own way. Maybe that's just spending the whole time in the water table splashing. That's awesome. That's that sensory experience. You are learning about water and what it does. That's amazing. We have some kids that are ready to go learn about biofacts, a different, feel the fur of animals or feel feathers. and we're there to help build that. We just want every single person and kid who visits the zoo to feel successful on their own terms.
All right. Well, we've got the information there for you on the screen. It's Sensory Saturdays. It's every second Saturday of the month from 9:30 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. and it takes place at the Living World at the St. Louis Zoo. For more information, you can go to the zoo's website at stlzoo.org. But don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about one of my favorites, Boo at the Zoo. So please stay with us. We'll be right back after this.